Please stand by.
Loading. Loading complete.
30,
29, 28,
27,
26,
25, 24,
23,
22,
21, 20,
19,
18,
17,
16, 15, 14, 13,
12,
11, 10,
9, 8, 7, 6, 5,
4,
2,
1. Now for what you've all been waiting for.
Good morning, good day, good evening, good night, good wherever it happens to be where you are. And hello to everybody in the future who watches this later. So we have Jason and Jacob maybe in the chat. Hello. So I guess it isn't just me and my shadow strolling down the avenue. Me and my shadow, not a soul to tell our troubles to. When it's 12 o'clock, we climb the stairs. We never knock, 'cause no one's there. It's just me and my shadow, all alone and feeling blue. Yeah. Good evening to you too. Hopefully we get more people in here. Well, this is going to be quite a packed show. So I probably should just get right into the news part of it. So, starting off, I mentioned we have Master Replicas here. Now, if you're not familiar with Master Replicas, they sell obviously replicas. There's quite a nice variety of stuff. If you can get sculptures, models, all sorts of neat, nerdy stuff that you can fill up your room with. Unfortunately, recently they reported that they had a bit of a theft happen. Unfortunately, having set up at Nuremberg Toy Fair, our booth was broken into when a large number of new product samples were stolen. These included a lot of Grade 1 and Sculpt Star Trek items, and were due to announcements in February. Please report have been filed, and we will monitor your auctions. So basically, you want to keep your eye out for anything you don't recognize. And if you do, report it to them. It might be one of their stolen goods. So that's that. And while we're on the UK topics, we also have a little bit of news here about what might be going on with UK. UK considering changing Netflix users' license fee to support BBC. The move is reportedly one of a range of options being looked at by the government. So basically, to summarize all this, is the UK is looking at extending their TV license to streaming services, as a lot of people are cutting the cord. It's been reported that the government is paying a shake-up of license fee, which could require viewers in the UK who only watch TV via streaming services is to pay, Currently, UK residents only have to pay for a TV license if they watch live FTV and not if they only watch pre-recorded programs via streaming services such as Netflix, Disney Plus, Apple TV, E Plus, Prime Video, etc., etc., etc. However, Bloomberg has reported that the ministers are considering extending the fee to those viewers so as to secure funds for the BBC. It is said to be one of a number of options being discussed with regard to making the funding of public broadcast more sustainable. The license fee is currently set to raise in April 2025. That's kind of a bummer of a thing, huh? When approached by Radio Times, a spokesperson for the Department of Culture, Media and Sport, said, "We do not comment on speculation, and we will provide more details about charter review plans to do in due course." Meanwhile, the BBC spokesperson said, "We want everyone to get value from the BBC, which is why we're focused on delivering what audiences want from us. Trusted news is the best is homegrown storytelling in the moments that bring us together. The public cares about the BBC, and this year we will launch our biggest ever public engagement exercise so audiences can help drive and shape but they want from a universal independent BBC in the future. We look forward to engaging with the government on the next charter to secure the long-term future of the BBC." So, I guess that's a bit of a heads up for all of you in the UK. So, hopefully, it won't be too much more for you, and who knows, maybe they'll backtrack if they get a lot of pushback. But I don't know how things exactly work in the UK. Yeah, it kind of feels like it, doesn't it? Though I have heard that the BBC has been losing quite a lot of money, so it's not that surprising that they'd want to push something like this lately. Let's see here. We got another song here. You must have been a beautiful baby. You must have been a wonderful child. When you were only starting to go to kindergarten, you must have drove the little boys wild. And when it came to wedding blue ribbons, you must have shown the other kids how. I can see the judge's eyes as they handed you the prize. You must have made the cutest bow. Oh, you must have been a beautiful baby, 'cause baby, look at you now. Does your mother realize the stork delivered quite a prize? Today he left you on the family tree. Does your dad appreciate that you're merely super great? The miracle for any century. If they don't, just send them both to me. Oh, you must have been a beautiful baby. You must have been a wonderful child. When you were only starting to go to kindergarten, I bet you drove the little boys wild. And when it came to winning blue ribbons, you must have shown the other kids how. I can see the judge's eyes as they handed you the prize. You must have made the cutest bow. Oh, you must have been a beautiful baby, 'cause baby, look at you now. Okay. So, what other songs can I do here? Yeah, this is a fun one. Skidmarink. Down on the Bula Bula Island, where the mermaids chant, reigns a big chief crocodile beneath an oyster plant. He loved the scene of selfishly, queen of the gay white wave. Each night in his shell he'd go to sea, and in tuneful scales he'd rave. Skidamarinka-dinka-boop, skidamarinka-doo means I love you. Skidamarinka-dinka-boop, skidamarinka-doo means I'll be true. Skidamarinka-dinka-boop, skidamarinka-doo. All the time he sang this rhyme. Skidamarinka-dinka-boop, skidamarinka-doo means I love you. But when the midnight moon's pale, Kingfish Kokomo came swimming over with his tail to say he loved her so. She was true, the crocodile said, "Coconut, go away. I know in a very little while you hear my lover say, Skidamarinka-dinka-boop, skidamarinka-doo, I love you. Skidamarinka-dinka-boop, skidamarinka-doo, I love you. I love you in the morning and in the afternoon. I love you in the evening underneath the moon. Skidamarinka-dinka-boop, skidamarinka-doo, I love you." Yes. Alright. Let me say one more song. Let's see here. Yeah, here we are. Give my regards to Broadway. That sounds like a good one. Did you ever see two Yankees part upon a foreign shore when the good ship's just about to start for old New York once more? With tear-dimmed eyes, they say goodbye. They say, and without a doubt, when the man on the pier shouts, "Let them clear!" as the ship strikes out. Give my regards to Broadway. Remember, meet the Herald Square. Tell all the gang at 42nd Street that I will soon be there. Whisper of how I'm yearning to mingle with the old-time throng. Give my regards to Broadway and say that I'll be there ere long. Say hello to dear old Coney Island if there your chance to be. When you're at the Wardrobe, have a smile and charge it up to me. Mention my name every place you go, as around the town you roam, which you'd call on my gal. Now remember, old pal, when you get back home, give my regards to Broadway. Remember me to Herald Square. Tell all the gang at 42nd Street that I will soon be there. Whisper of how I'm yearning to mingle with the old-time throng. Give my regards to Broadway and say that I'll be there ere long. Really? Oh, that's quite interesting. All right. So let's see here. Oh, what else can I get to here?
Please stand by.
Loading. Loading complete.
30,
29. 28.
27.
26,
25. 24.
23,
22.
21, 20,
19.
18,
17.
16, 15, 14, 13,
12.
11, 10,
9. 8. 7. 6. 5.
4.
3,
2. 2.
1. Now for what you've all been waiting for.
Well, good morning, and good day, good evening, good night, good wherever it happens to be where you are. And hello to everybody. You'll see this in the future. Yes, we have Jason and Jacob in the chat. What's this? Yeah, lot of comments here. Well, let's see. We have what 3, maybe 4 people watching. Okay. Well, I guess I'll get into a song here. Hello, My Baby. It's also been known, probably more famously, as the Frog Song, or possibly originally as the Telephone Rag. I have a little baby, she's out of sight. I talk to her across the telephone. I'm seeing my honey, but she's mine, alright. So take my tip and leave this gal alone. Every single morning you can hear me yell, "Hey, Central, fix me up across the line." Connects me with my honey, then I ring the bell. And this is what I say to baby mine. Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal. Send me a kiss by wire. Baby, my heart's on fire. If you refuse me, honey, you lose me, then you'll be left alone. Oh, baby, telephone, tell me I'm your own. Hello, hello, baby. Hello, I guess you can't hear me. The wires must be crossed somewhere. Hello, hello, I said hello this morning through the phone. She said her name was Bess. Now I kind of know where I am at. I'm satisfied because I got my baby's dress here pasted in the lining of my hat. I might scare if the wires get crossed. They'll separate me from my baby mine. Then some other fool will win her, and the game is lost. So each day I shout across the line. Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal. Send me a kiss by wire. Baby, my heart's on fire. If you refuse me, honey, you lose me. Then you'll be left alone. Oh, baby, telephone, tell me I'm your own. Come on, baby. Okay. Yeah, frog song. Gotta get a little drink after singing that one. So I also have about half a glass of Tullamore Dew honey here to help my throat. So drink them if you got them. If you don't, well, go get them. Yeah. So you can do a nice little. Seems to be a bit of a fan and favorite. There's a hole in the bucket, dear Liza, dear Liza. There's a hole in the bucket, dear Liza. A hole. Then patch it, dear Henry, dear Henry, dear Henry. Then patch it, dear Henry. Then patch up the hole. With what shall I patch it, dear Liza, dear Liza? With what shall I patch it, dear Liza? With what? With straw, dear Henry, dear Henry, dear Henry. With straw, dear Henry, dear Henry. With straw. The straw is too long, dear Liza, dear Liza. The straw is too long, dear Liza, too long. And cut it, dear Henry, dear Henry, dear Henry. And cut it, dear Henry, dear Henry, cut it. With what shall I cut it, dear Liza, dear Liza? With what shall I cut it, dear Liza? With what? With a knife, dear Henry, dear Henry, dear Henry. With a knife, dear Henry, dear Henry, a knife. The knife is too dull, dear Liza, dear Liza. The knife is too dull, dear Liza, too dull. Then sharpen it, dear Henry, dear Henry, dear Henry. Then sharpen it, dear Henry, dear Henry, sharpen it. With what shall I sharpen it, dear Liza, dear Liza? With what shall I sharpen it, dear Liza? With what? With a stone, dear Henry, dear Henry, dear Henry. With a stone, dear Henry, dear Henry, a stone. The stone is too dry, dear Liza, dear Liza. The stone is too dry, dear Liza, too dry. Then wet it, dear Henry, dear Henry, dear Henry. Then wet it, dear Henry, dear Henry, wet it. With what shall I wed it, dear Liza, dear Liza? With what shall I wed it, dear Liza? With what? With water, dear Henry, dear Henry, dear Henry. With water, dear Henry, dear Henry. With water. The what shall I fetch it, dear Liza, dear Liza? With what shall I fetch it, dear Liza? With what? A bucket, dear Henry, dear Henry, dear Henry. A bucket, dear Henry, dear Henry. A bucket. But there's a hole in the bucket, dear Liza, dear Liza. There's a hole in the bucket, dear Liza. A hole. But not to worry. He peed on a stone, sharpened his knife, cut the straw, and patched his bucket. But the water never quite tasted the same again. And we can also tell that Henry is totally useless without Liza. Last time I couldn't remember the nursery rhyme that reminded me of it was Hush little baby. Yeah, I was just drawing a blank. Oh no, Hush little baby. That's actually one I probably should learn. Maybe there's a little number near the end of the day. I had a bunch of news to cover. Well, I'll just skip to the next thing here. How's that sound? So, there's a new show coming out called Devil May Cry. It's an animated series coming out on Netflix. It's going to be out on April 3rd. This is based on a video game series produced by Capcom. It's currently up to Devil May Cry 5, which we do see characters from this latest game in the animated series. A teaser was also released about 4 months back, but Capcom just released the intro for the show. The intro is set to Limp Bizkit's song "Rolling." I was trying to work out the characters in the intro, but to be honest, I am not that hugely familiar with Devil May Cry. You see, I'm familiar with the pretty much the first two games. Watching my friend play, who was a hell of a lot better at the game than I was, and I haven't really seen or touched the game in a good 20 years or longer. I think I saw a little bit of the third game, so I wasn't able to really identify all the characters I wanted to. I wanted to identify every single character that showed up in this intro, but that just wasn't possible for me to do. But, of course, we have our main character, Dante. Dante will be voiced by Johnny Young Bosch. You might recognize the name as he played Adam. He played Adam, the second Black Power Ranger in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. He has also done a number of English voice acting, such as for the character of Chikago Kurosaki, the main character of the anime Bleach. And he's also voiced Vash the Stampede from the anime Trigun. In the Devil May Cry video games, Johnny voiced Dante's nephew, Nero. Nero first appeared in Devil May Cry 4. So, interesting choice for her voice acting right there. You can see that but getting into some of the characters I was able to identify right here. First up is this guy here. He is the Cavalier Angelo Demon, a boss from Devil May Cry 5. You can see some concept art of the character here for the game. And we have this shot here, which I believe is Lady. She first appeared in Devil May Cry 3 and is a playable character in 4. You can see a much more obvious shot of this being Lady here, or in this shot with obviously the two-tone eyes. And for comparison, we have the face shot from the video game. Next up, we have Mundus. Now, Mundus, also known as the Prince of Darkness, he's an overarching antagonist in the final boss in the first game. This is some spin-off or card game image of the character, but it was the best one I could find and that showcased the character. Then we have this image here. This appears to be White Rabbit riding on the back of a character named Goliath from Devil May Cry 5. So, get a shot of Goliath from the game. You can kind of see we got the horns. Kind of the back looks like either hair or scales. The veiny arms. So that's kind of my guess as to which character that is. I could be wrong, but here we have another shot of White Rabbit with a number of the demons behind him. Again, we see the Cavalier Angelo behind him. Possibly Jester on the left-hand side there. I'm not sure if I know who the others are, though. The White Rabbit is somebody also in Reddit pointed out. This is another shot of the White Rabbit from the teaser. So, give me an idea of what the series will look like. And here's a shot from when he was first introduced. The White Rabbit isn't from the games. He's from the Devil May Cry 3 manga. That's probably why you might not have heard of him. The character is obviously based on the White Rabbit from Alice in Wonderland, which had a number of Alice in Wonderland themed characters in the manga. Now, someone on Reddit pointed out the sword that White Rabbit seems to be holding here is this one here, Sparta's Force Edge. So you can see another shot here. You can see the little bit more of the sword here in this profile. And speaking of Sparta, he also showed up in the intro. And we can see as it cut out from this shot, we can see Sparta from the game here. And as it cut out from that shot, we have him holding his sword. It's very clearly Sparta right there. Now, if you're not familiar with who Sparta is, he's been an overarching protagonist in the game. In the series, he's Dante's father. And I believe the cover is pretty much all the characters I was able to ID. So we did get some other stuff. This little symbol quickly flashed across the screen. It says Darkon. Some people have been speculating this may be a new demon hunting organization, and that appears in the series, since nobody seems to recognize it. We got some shots of agents. I don't know if this is a pre-existing character, or perhaps it's a new character running in Darkcom. Another shot of him with a number of his men behind him. And of course, this isn't the first animated series to be released for Devil May Cry. There was a anime released in 2007, which is the logo you see here on the screen. Dante ran a demon hunting agency. He called Devil May Cry in that anime. And of course, in the anime, he was a massive loaf of a slacker as well. And Lady appeared in that anime as well. So we have here another shot of Lady from the old anime from 2007. A little close up of her face there. Apparently, it's standard to get a good close up of that two-toned eyes of hers. This is a shot from the new animated series, so we can kind of see that they seem to be leaning into Dante's cocky attitude versus the old original 2007 in anime. I noticed there's a lot more shading in the older anime than in the newer one. So that's that. Some comparisons here. We got Dante eating pizza in the intro. And of course, Dante eating pizza from the 2007 anime. And we can see Dante is still a complete slob from the intro. And near the end credit scenes of the show from the original 2007 anime, we can see that Dante is a complete slob. Another interesting parallel. We have this city he's seen from the new animated series, which is the opener to the teaser, and the opening to the first episode of the 2007 anime is this one. I thought the two scenes looked pretty similar overall. So we might actually be getting some of the same vibes from both series, which might be good, with the possible exception of Dante being a lot more cocky. He looks kind of younger to me in this new one. I got a few more shots here. Dante from the original 2007 series. Kind of give you a little bit more idea of the shading. Actually, that one actually gives you a pretty good view of some of the shading since he's in light versus, and there's one more of him from the 2007 series. And in the teaser, we got, of course, this little bullet that says jackpot on it. The bullet hit with jackpot written on it. This is a recurring phrase in the game series. In Devil May Cry 2, it was the overpowered shot from one of Dante's guns. I believe it was Ivory. So that covers that. So how are we going there? Yeah, you're kind of right about that. It does seem like they're maybe giving it something of an evangelion treatment. So, let's see here. What to cover next?
Please stand by.
Loading. Loading complete.
30,
29. 28.
27.
26,
25. 24.
23,
22.
21, 20,
19.
18,
17.
16, 15, 14, 13,
12.
11, 10,
9. 8. 7. 6. 5.
4.
2.
1. Now for what you've all been waiting for.
Oh, all right. Good morning. Wait a second. I said this already, didn't I? Wait. What's going on here? Okay, well, I have in the chat Jason Jacob B. Quite a lot of comments here. Haven't we been doing this already? Well, I guess I should just jump into some news here. So, some sad news to report. A legend has passed away. The iconic He-Man voice actor Johnny Irwin has died. we have some incredibly sad news to report. John Irwin, in the legendary voice of He-Man, and from the classic 1980 Filmation cartoon series He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, has died. Born in 1936, he died at 88 years old. Well, John had quite a wonderful career here in the entertainment industry. He's starting impressively with a reoccurring role in the hit television series Rawhide. Interestingly enough, I didn't know this, he voiced Morris the cat in the Nine Lives commercial. Meow 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 meow. Meow 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 meow. So that's quite sad to hear about John Irwin. We have this little thing here. Letter to my brother. Aside from being friends in real life for 40 years, he had been in a team. We had been a team. He, were He-Man and She-Ra. To have my brother pass on is tremendous sorrow, even though I know life is not infinite. The tears I have are because John is such a special, quiet man, and we shared a very special relationship in those roles as twin brother and sister. Your body will live in the hearts of so many people to whom you gave love and strength and hope and laughter in times of difficulty. And they need to be calmed by laughter and hope. Working with you gave me strength and hope, and caring as well. I remember the working times when I felt like I could stand on your shoulder, is when I was going through a difficult day. Times when you reminded me of who I was betraying, and your twin, and She-Ra, the most powerful woman in the world. There were wonderful moments with all of our fellow actors. Times of good work, or times of sincere caring, times of joyous laughter. Now that you are gone, and I cannot not say hello anymore, my heart aches. You know, you live your life the way you want to live it. I'm glad that I have a few lines of your voice messages is to me need to listen to, who and as well why don't you portrayed He-Man and said, "I have the power." You did, and still do. The joy and camaraderie you gave to me, you still keeps giving me the strength you always wanted me to share. After all, we were twins, He-Man and She-Ra forever. Yes, He-Man taught us all that we have the power. Yeah, apparently He-Man and Meow Mix Cat are the same actor. I did not know that myself. Well, I think this is fitting for the parting glass, and a toast to John Irwin, He-Man. May you rest in peace. Of all the money that e'er I had, I spent it in good company, and all the harm I ever done, alas, it was to none but me. And all I've done for want of wit, to memory now I can't recall. So fill to me the parting glass. Good night and joy be to you all. So fill to me the parting glass, and drink a health to where befall, and gently rise and softly call. Good night and joy be to you all. Of all the comrades that e'er I had, they're sorry for my going away. And all the sweethearts that e'er I had, they'd wish me one more day to stay. But since it fell unto my lot that I should rise and you should not, I gently rise and softly call. Good night and joy be to you all. A man may drink and not be drunk. A man may fight and not be slain. A man may court a pretty girl, perhaps be welcomed back again. But since it has so ought to be, by a time to rise and a time to fall, come fill to me the parting glass. Good night and joy be with you all. Good night and joy be with you all. Always sad to lose a legend. Maybe we should bring the energy back up here. We can do one of my favorite things to do in spring. Spring is here, spring is here, life is skittles and life is beer. I think the loveliest time of the year is spring. I do, don't you? Of course you do. But there's one thing that makes spring complete for me. It makes every Sunday a treat for me. All the world seems in tune on a spring afternoon when we're poising the pigeons in the park. Every Sunday you'll see my sweetheart and me as we poison the pigeons in the park. When they see us coming, the birdies all try and hide, but they still go for peanuts when coated with cyanide. The sun's shining bright, everything seems alright when we're poisoning the pigeons in the park. We've gained notoriety and caused much anxiety in the Audubon Society with our games. They call it impiety and lack of propriety and quite a variety of unpleasant names. But it's not against any religion to want to dispose of the pigeon. So if Sunday you're free, why don't you come with me and we'll poison the pigeons in the park? And maybe we'll do on a squirrel or two while we're poisoning the pigeons in the park. We'll murder them all amidst laughter and merriment, except for a few we take home to experiment. My pulse will be quickening with each drop of strychnine we feed to a pigeon. It just takes a smidgen to poison the pigeons in the park. Thank you, Tom Lehrer, for opening the floodgates of all your songs and giving permission to use your entire library. I do plan to learn more of your stuff. Beck! Thank you for coming. So let's see here. What else do I have on the list of things to show here? I've got some.
Please stand by.
Loading. Loading complete.
30,
29, 28,
27,
26,
25, 24,
23,
22,
21, 20,
19,
18,
17,
16, 15, 14,
13,
12,
11, 10,
9, 8, 7, 6, 5,
4,
2,
1. Now for what you've all been waiting for.
Well, good morning, and good day, good evening, good night, good wherever happens to be where you are. And hello to everybody who sees this in the future, if there's going to be a future. Wait a second. Okay, well, so we have Jake, and Jake, he could be in the chat. There's a lot of posts here from. Oh, and we got Beck. Hello, Beck. Beck, yeah. Well, I'm thinking the universe wants me to get this over with. So maybe we need to take care of this now, before we have another loop. So today, of course, is Groundhog's Day. I wasn't really planning on covering covering movie trivia today, but seeing as it is Groundhog's Day, well, I kind of had to. So, of course, our movie, released in 1993, starring Bill Murray, and was directed by Harold Ramis, and was co-written by Harold Ramis, along with Danny Rubin. The film was not filmed in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. Instead, it was filmed in Woodstock, Illinois, just 50 miles from Bill Murray's hometown, Wilmette. You can see in the background here, under that blue awning, and it says Woodstock Jewelers, to kind of give away where the hometown actually is. Now, they put up a couple of plaques right in this particular area in the street. One in being the movie Groundhog Day. Bill Murray stepped here in his iconic scene where he kept stepping in the puddle. And looking very closely at this shot, we can see that the hole looks like it's still there. The second plaque they put up, and we can see the hole he stepped in there, of course. But the second plaque they put up here, there is an expanded version right there. It says Ned's Corner, Groundhog Day movie in 1992. And it's right in the corner there. That's the spot that Phil kept running into Ned Ryerson during the scene. And of course, here's one of the scenes of him running into Ned and being harassed by him. The song that greets Bill Murray every morning, "I've Got You, Babe," by Sonny and Cher, was was in Danny Rubin's original script. Yep. The song is known for its seemingly endless, repetitive chorus, which mirrors Phil's predicament in the film. Later in the scene, Phil picks up the alarm clock and smashes it. When he slammed it into the floor, the clock didn't actually break, like as planned. So the crew smashed it with a hammer to give it that really smashed look. That's how it ended up in all kinds of pieces here. Now, they raised a family of groundhogs for the movie. And Bill Murray, another groundhog there, was actually bitten by the groundhog twice. And the bites were so bad that he had anti-rabies injections. Now, according to the film was I read that. Phil will almost certainly experience February 2nd thousands of times. They reported say they only covered 38 in the movie. However, a careful sorting of the day he's isolated, it's in the sequence, it's in dialogue, accounts for 42 days. That's the exact number of days of additional winter predicted by the Punxsutawney Phil, saying there's going to be 6 weeks of winter. In this scene here, Phil is feeling pretty bitter at this point. He coming and Groundhog Day used to mean something in this town. They used to pull the hog out and then they used to eat it. This is actually an accurate statement regarding the origin of the real Groundhog Day, in that it was more of a hunt. Don't drive angry. Don't drive angry. Well, originally, Phil was supposed to hunt down the groundhog in his lair, but they felt that would have been too much like Caddyshack, from 1980. Yes. 3 cheeseburgers, 2 large fries, 2 chocolate shakes, and 1 large Coke. Supposedly, Paul Lynde was the inspiration for this line. And after a high-speed chase through San Fernando Valley one night, when he was driving recklessly while intoxicated, Lynde crashed his car into a mailbox. The police came to the car, her guns drawn, and he lowered his window and said, "I'll have a cheeseburger, hold the onions, and a large Sprite," which pretty much mirrors a lot what we saw from that scene of Murray running over a mailbox because he just doesn't give a flying in fornication anymore. Another account is a scene inspired by an incident involving comedian in Shecky Green in Las Vegas this one night while intoxicated. He drove his car into the big fountain in front of Caesar's palace. As bystanders pulled him out with water from the fountain raining down on his car, he shouted, "Clean the floor mats and no hot wax." And it's never too early for flapjacks. Just a reminder about that. Harold Ramis originally wanted Tom Hanks to play the lead role of Phil Connors, but he decided against it because he thought Tom Hanks was too nice. The old man is the only one to die and stay dead. Phil the Groundhog and the old man are the only ones in the loop who have known to have died. The fate of the cops chasing Phil on the railroad tracks from when he made his iconic line I mentioned is not shown, but since there was no crash as the train went by, it's likely they got off in time. Now, I'm thinking also the mayor may have also kicked the bucket in that as well, seeing as he was choking at one point, and Phil came along and saved his life. So he may have passed off screen as well. He might be fine. No, okay, maybe not now, but yeah, we got a time loop to fix that kind of thing. After its release, several writers emerged claiming that the story was stolen from them. Science fiction writer Richard Lopoff claimed that it was a ripoff of his short story 12:01 p.m. Well, Ken Grimwood, author of Replay, he was another. However, Danny Rubin said his only jumping off point of inspiration for this film was the story Christmas Every Day from 1892 by William Dean Howells. So Danny Rubin also had said that the moment that inspired the creation of the story, he came after reading the novel Interview with the Vampire, which got him thinking about what it would be like to live forever. In the original version of the script, Phil was already trapped inside the Groundhog's Day loop as the story starts. The audience would join him on a typical day, with the audience wondering how he knew everything that was going to happen. And Harold Ramis promised not to change this aspect of the story, but ultimately decided to do so anyway. Uh, Bill Murray was offered a spit bucket for the dinner scene here, where he stuffs a bunch of whole angel food cake into his mouth. He declined to do so, which he probably regretted, seeing as eating the entire cake in one gulp like that. That made him feel pretty sick soon after. A little foreshadowing in this shot here. Here we can see the ice sculptures, seeing as he learned how to do some ice sculpting later in the show. The ice sculptures is featured in the movie. He called Winged Victory, were carved by Randy Rupert, aka the Chainsaw Wizard. Randy is actually a Punxsutawney resident and has a shop downtown. He can be found in the city park every Groundhog's Day, carving and selling his wooden sculptures. Finally, in the first draft of the screenplay, it would end with Phil Connors waking up on February 3rd to discover that Rita, the girl he's with here, was trapped in a time loop of her own. That would have made an interesting jumping off point for a sequel if they had ever decided to go in that direction. Okay, are you happy, universe? I covered Groundhog's Day. No more time loops, okay? Let's see here. Now we can actually get to something else here. All right. Let's see, I covered that song, I think. Yeah, this is a nice little song. Had to be you. What do I do? Just as you say. Why must I give you your way? Why do I sigh? Why don't I try to forget? It must have been that something lovers call fate kept on saying I had to wait. I saw them all, just couldn't fall till we met. It had to be you. It had to be you. I wandered around and finally found somebody who could make me be true and make me be blue and even be glad just to be sad thinking of you. Some others I've seen might never be mean, might never be cross or try to be boss, but they wouldn't do, for nobody else gave me a thrill. For all your faults, I love you still. It had to be you, wonderful you. It had to be you. Seems like dreams, like I always had, could be, should be, making me glad. Why am I blue? It's up to you to explain. Maybe, baby, I'll go away. Someday, some way, you'll come and say, it had to be you. It had to be you. I wandered around and finally found somebody who could make me be true and make me be blue and even be glad just to be sad thinking of you. Some others I've seen might never be mean, might never be cross or try to be boss, but they wouldn't do, for nobody else gave me a thrill. For all your faults, I love you still. It had to be you, wonderful you. It had to be you. All right. It had to be you. And while we're in that mood, I love you truly, truly, dear. Life with its sorrow, life with its tear, faded to dreams when I feel you near. For I love you truly, truly, dear. Ah, love, 'tis something to feel your kind hand. Ah, yes, 'tis something by your side to stand. Gone is the sorrow, gone doubt and fear, for you love me truly, truly, dear. You know, those two songs actually took me quite a while to get down. Especially, usually it's kind of odd for that second one and to have taken so long. Let's see. So, try and get to the top of this bit. All right. Actually, I want to showcase this. This is something kind of pretty damn cool I came across. This guy here introducing the 6-foot divorce class, and they transform. So this guy 3D printed his own 6-foot tall old transformers. And the ones he's got here is Fortress Maximus and Scorponok. There's another shot of it. They're not painted yet. He's going to be painting them at some point. Just thought this was just so damn cool. They just build like live, almost large replicas of these two. So yeah, awesome work, man. I don't know where they're getting that from. I searched it, didn't come up. All it came up was his own stuff. So maybe that's what he's just calling it himself. Let's into a little bit more news here. Marvel's X-Men and All Mutants shouldn't be pigeonholed as minorities by us or them, says veteran writer Chris Claremont. Which, by the way, Chris Claremont's run, awesome. Readers and scholars have compared the mutants' experience to the civil rights movement, noting that the X-Men face the same type of persecution as minorities. However, longtime X-Men writer Chris Claremont says is that it's more nuanced than that. very true. It is. In fact, he doesn't agree with the X-Men in being labeled as minorities. During a panel at CCEXP 2024, the legendary X-Men writer spoke about the relationships mutants have with society. Little shot here. The challenge is to see themselves at the school as minorities. That's Charlie's job. That's Magneto's job. From my perception, and what they are is a half dozen, maybe a dozen kids, young people living together, but looking on themselves as ordinary people. They have abilities, yeah. Leonard Bernstein had abilities. From their perspective, it's not much different. He composed and played brilliant music. They saved the world, A and B. The key is to think of them as people, not as heroes. Not, yes, I'm a minority. No, oh, you're a person who is trying to live a normal life. Other people who may see you as a minority. You may react to them as a minority. You may look at yourself objectively as a minority, but as a person, you're a person. Nightcrawler is the most dynamic, non-human and physically in the team, but his attitude is, I am the person God made. Who am I to argue with God? I'm just going to live my life like a normal little guy and see what happens next. Yes, he used to hide the way he looked because he's not stupid. Blue skin, 2 fingers, well, 3 fingers, thumb, 2 toes, nose, and a tail will definitely make you stand out from the crowd. It took Logan to challenge him to take off the mask and be a normal person and see if anybody else noticed to get him to do it. But other than that, he just tried to live a normal, little cool life as someone who loves acting, who is a theater performer, or who is a stuntman. This is the way you should look at these characters, not as characters, not as objective concepts, but as ordinary, normal, real, really cool people. The rest of it falls into place. But you can look around in the room at the people around on this table. Oh, look, that's an X person. And how do you know? Well, it looks sort of like a Colossus. How do you know? Well, doesn't he? It may be Peter Rasputin. But who knows? You just see him as a person, not as Colossus. Claremont raised some interesting points, and if anybody could speak with authority about mutants in the Marvel Universe, it's him. However, it's nuanced in this issue, and there is a lot to unpack. Do you feel the mutants are minorities? Sound off in the comments section, yada yada. Well, actually, I do have some opinions on this, and I think the post that draw my attention to this is by Matt Moylan. He is a director and publishes Udon Entertainment, art books, manga, comics. Also, he writes, illustrates, and edits. He had to say, yes, every actual X-Men fan understands this. The X-Men are not an allegory for one thing. They are an allegory for any person who is ostracized, which speaks to everyone. Because you're short, because you have glasses, whatever. And yeah, I kind of agree with that sentiment. And I actually I also kind of agree with Chris Claremont's sentiment. And I think through the use of our entertainment, we can understand each other better and find commonality for everybody. And in a way, that's what the X-Men does. We should be looking at minorities as just people. So even if we are using them as an allegory for minorities, what Chris Claremont said there still applies. I thought that would be a great segue into my final little part of this. I have a little project that I've been kind of working on off and on and for quite a while. And I don't want to say I am writing it because it's a lot of stuff that isn't my writing. I think it'd be better to say that I compiled it. But back, well, over 10 years now, when they did M-Day and Decimation and basically wiped out most of the mutants in the comic book, I was kind of getting fed up with what Marvel was doing with the X-Men. And to be honest, it's been kind of going downhill since then. So I started kind of writing my own thing. Like I said, I shouldn't say writing, I should say putting together my own thing with a little bit of my own writing to make it cohesive. I kind of mentioned this a little bit last week. Now, for this project, I'm basically taking stuff from the movies, the comic books, different realities, like the Ultimate Universe or 616, wherever, or the cartoons, and I'm just kind of compiling it all together into a cohesive story. My original vision for this was to make it into a comic book, but I thought by doing that I might get it hit by Marvel, Disney being copyright strike fiends. So I started kind of writing it into more of a story base, just so I can get it out. I do kind of have an ending in mind for this. But I have no idea exactly how it's going to all go together at the very end. I kind of have some idea. And as I further go into the story, it'll be more and more my own writing in doing it. I made a couple of rules. One would be all the powers are going to be mutant based for the most part. So you either have powers or they were born with and they manifest, or it would be something derived from that, such as like what you see with Deadpool, being his powers being derived from Wolverine. Second rule is no aliens. So I won't have so the Phoenix Force. So I went with the movie route of it being more of internal power from Jean. Of course, I kind of cut out a lot of the other superheroes, Captain America, Spider-Man, and who get their powers from non-mutant based forms. I will make an exception for some cybernetics, though. But here's what I've written so far. Get a little drink because I'm going to be reading this. This would be the what would be the first issue. Origin of Jean Grey. Jean Grey tossed and turned in her sleep, tormented by the images in her mind. It was the nightmare she had ever unite for the past 3 years. Beads of cold sweat dripped from her forehead as the scenes in her head had ended. Her eyes open and wide in terror. Her powers manifesting in the image of a flaming bird in her left eye. In her sleep, she had levitated everything off the ground, including herself. As soon as she had woke, it all came crashing into the floor, and Jean landed with a thud on her mattress. The image of the flaming bird faded as she sat up. Hearing the noise, her parents came crushing in, and standing in the doorway, they surveyed the mess as her mother commented, "Not again." That morning, the Gray spoke to Jean's therapist. Jean could hear them through her thoughts. "I'm sorry, but she's been unresponsive to treatment. Please, there has to be something. I've done all I can, but there is a colleague of mine who might be able to help. He specializes in difficult cases involving trauma like your daughter." "That's what the last therapist told us about you." Jean turned her head, peering into the room where her parents and therapist stood. She sensed something strange, like her therapist's thoughts weren't his own. In his mansion in Westchester, Xavier sat eating with his colleagues, Moira McTaggart and Eric Lancher. You look preoccupied, Charles," Eric asked. "I'm expecting a phone call," Xavier replied. "Parents of a rather special child." "Special?" Eric inquired. "She's a mutant." "Another charity case?" Eric asked. "She's a young girl who needs guidance, as do her parents," Xavier replied. "This is why we do what we do." "You used that new machine of yours, didn't you?" Eric mused. "Yes, it's quite amazing how much it boosts my telepathic abilities." "What makes you so sure will contact you?" Eric asked. "I put the suggestion in her doctor's head." Eric mused. "Charles, mind control?" "No, he would have done it eventually anyway. I just made sure I was the person he referred him to," Charles explained. Back at the Gray's home, Jean's parents were in their kitchen discussing what to do. "We have to call," his father said. "We've taken her to so many people. Well, she still will know better," her mother replied. "What difference would this one make?" "We have a What other choice do we have?" Her father asked. "We have to keep trying." "I guess you're right," her mother said, picking up the phone. "It's just each time it feels like another setback." Xavier's phone rang. "I believe that's them now. If you excuse me," Xavier said, getting up from the dining table. Xavier picked up the phone in Xavier's residence. "This is Charles speaking. How may I help you?" "Yes. Yes. I can be there tomorrow. Good day." He hung up the phone and sat back down. "I'll be meeting with them tomorrow," Charles said, turning towards Moira and Eric. The next day, Charles Xavier arrived at the Gray's residence. He sat listening to her family tell their story. For the past several years, it's been a living nightmare. She starts screaming whenever we take her anywhere in public. We just recently emptied her room, and she kept breaking everything. We're worried she's going to hurt herself every time her mother told Xavier, trailing off. "Listen, Dr. Xavier, we've taken Jean to see every psychologist, psychiatrist, neurologist as we could find. We even tried a few faith healers. So far, nothing's worked," her father explained. I just want my sister back," her sister added. Xavier stood up. "I'll see what I can do. I have some unique talents that may allow me to reach her in ways others can't. If I may be able to speak to her alone." Xavier entered Jean's room. Everything but a mattress set flat on the floor had been removed. The 13-year-old girl stood staring out her window. "Hello, Jean," he said to the young girl looking out the window. My name is Charles Xavier." Jean looked at Xavier, trying to read his mind. It's very rude, you know, to read someone's thoughts without permission. Xavier didn't speak the words. Instead, Jean had heard him in her head. You're not like the other doctors, Jean said. And you're not like other patients, Xavier replied. I want to meet you because I know what it's like to be different. I've come to help you. I'm a mutant, Jean, like you. The words again, and came not from Xavier's voice, but inside her head. Really? I doubt that, Jean said. Her mattress began to lift off the ground and then floated. It suspended at 5 feet in the air. Xavier looked at the mattress with amusement. He then noticed out the window that every car around the block was also floating in the air. You have a gift. It's an extraordinary, uncanny power, Jean. The question is, will it control? Will you control that power, or will that power control you? Xavier said. It's up to you how you use this gift. If you want to do good with it, I can help. The mattress crashed to the floor. The sound of multiple car alarms could be heard outside. I'd like that, Jean said. Xavier walked back into the den and where Jean's family was waiting. She's agreed to let me work with her. You spoke with her? You're the first one to get her attention, her father told him. I won't sugarcoat it. She has a long and difficult journey. I can teach her control, but dealing with the damage, the traumatization into her psyche, she may never fully recover. But you can help her, her mother asked. I'll do everything in my power, Mrs. Gray. Later that week, Jean and Xavier had their first session. Xavier gestured to her to have a seat in front of him. Can you remember the events from 3 years ago? He asked as she took her seat. No. Anything from your dreams? Jean shook her head. It's okay, Jean. I'll help you. Close your eyes and try to think of what happened 3 years ago, Xavier said, putting his fingers to his temple. Jean closed her eyes, and suddenly it felt like she was transported somewhere else. She stood outside her home with Xavier by her side. Where are we? Eugene asked. We're inside your mind, Jean. Now, what happened that day? We were playing with a frisbee. Jean stepped forward into the scene, and the events began to replay. Annie, catch! Jean yelled, throwing the frisbee to her friend. Xavier watched as a 10-year-old Jean and her friend and Annie tossed the frisbee back and forth. Jump for it, Jean yelled as the frisbee zoomed over Annie's head. Annie missed the catch, and the frisbee landed behind her in the street. I'll get it, Annie yelled as she ran in to fetch the frisbee. Annie, wait! Jean yelled, but it was too late. A speeding car hit Annie, causing her to go flying into the air. Annie! Annie! Mom! Help! Jean screamed as she ran into her friend. Blood poured out from Annie's head as she laid lifeless in the street. No! Annie! Jean screamed as she knelt down next to her friend. I can hear her thoughts. I can feel her dying. The thought was echoed around Xavier. She's dying! I'm dying! I'm dying! I'm dead! I'm dead! Jean screamed over and over. Jean! You're not the one who died that day, Xavier said, putting his hand on her shoulder. Don't call me that. Jean's voice had grown cold and dark. What should I call you? Xavier asked. My name is Madeline, she said, standing up and facing Xavier. Xavier looked to his side and saw another Jean standing there with tears streaming down her face. It was like suddenly waking from a realistic dream. Jean opened her eyes and she was back in the room, sitting in a chair facing Xavier, her face wet with tears. It's okay, Jean. We now know more about what's going on with you. Wiping the tears from her face, she looked at him. Your emotional state triggered your latent, your mutant talents, and is causing you to telepathically experience Annie's death. Who is that other me? Jean asked. It appears as you've developed a second and distinct personality to deal with the events of Annie's death, Xavier explained. It may be the reason you can't remember. You've disassociated yourself from what happened. Several months went by as Xavier worked with Jean to heal her and teach her to control her mutant powers. Moira brought him a cup of coffee as he sat at his desk. Thank you. Xavier took a sip of his coffee and winced, then set it as far from him as he could. How are things progressing with the girl, Charles? Moira asked. Jean has made a vast improvement in controlling her telekinesis, though is still struggling with her telepathy. But I think she's far enough along to try a field test. That's good, Moira remarked. What concerns me more is the trauma she experienced. It has fractured her mind. There is a second distinct personality calling herself Madeline Pryor that's formed to deal with the death of her friend. Because of this, Jean can't directly remember what happened, but she still feels it. The next day, Xavier and Jean stood outside the local mall. Maybe we should try this later, like tomorrow, Jean said nervously. Trust in yourself, Jean. Just keep your focus, and you'll be fine, Xavier said reassuringly. The two stepped through the door to the mall. It was a busy shopping day with all sorts of people hovering from store to store. Jean slowly walked forward, nervously rubbing her arm and looking around at all the people. You can do this, she heard Xavier's voice in her head. See, you're fine. I am. I don't hear any of them, just their voices, Jean replied, head back telepathically. Jean and Xavier continued through the mall to the food court. I never thought I'd be able to be around this many people again, Jean said telepathically to Xavier. Suddenly, a young boy ran past, bumping into Jean and causing her to lose focus. The thoughts of everyone around her began to flood her mind. Stay focused, as Xavier told her, but at the thoughts of those around her continued to fill her head. No! Jean yelled, clutching her head and dropping to her knees. Wonderful sale. Just wanna... Wow. Seems pretty easy. How many more stores? Look. Jean, you can control it, Xavier yelled, reaching out for her. No! Jean yelled, her expression changing from pain to anger. Madeline, Xavier said. A telekinetic wave burst out from Jean, causing everyone and everything around her to go flying. Xavier quickly picked himself up off the floor and used his own telepathic powers to free the minds of everyone in the mall. Jean got up off the floor and looked around at all the people frozen in place like statues. She could no longer hear any of their thoughts. Come on, Jean. Let's go, Xavier said, extending his hand to her. The next day, Xavier and Eric pulled up to the Gray's residence. I still don't know why I'm here, Eric said, getting out of the car. Couldn't you just make them say yes? Yes, I could, but it's not my way. I would expect you, of all people, to respect my feelings about the misuse of power, Xavier said as they approached the door. Yes, power corrupts and all that. When will you stop lecturing me? Eric asked. When you start listening, replied Xavier. You're here because I may need you. I made a mistake the other day. The two were invited inside to speak with Jean's parents. Please forgive me. I thought she was ready. I pushed her too much too soon, Xavier said as he sat down. We have to make sure this setback doesn't completely undermine the progress we've made. Where will our daughter be in danger? Her mother asked. No, we've taken precautions to cover the incident. No one will find out about what your daughter can do, Xavier explained. But as you've seen on TV, there are others like Jean out there, and the world isn't taking it too well. What do you have in mind? Your father asked. I've decided to open a boarding school for other gifted individuals like your daughter, Xavier said. I'd like to invite your daughter to be among my students. This is Mr. Erlanchier, a colleague of mine. Pleasure, Eric said. I don't know, Jean's father replied. This accident has left your daughter's mind fractured into two distinct personalities to cope with what happened. This has left her abilities unstable. Are you saying she's dangerous? Her father asked. No, her abilities are powerful but untamed. With time, she'll learn to control them, Xavier reassured them. I believe she needs more. If she comes with us, I can work with her more closely to offer her better guidance. However, I believe I will have to wall off parts of her mind. This will block parts of her abilities. This way she can... Her father cut Xavier off. If you can do that, why haven't you already? Get rid of all of it. The accident, her illness. Illness? Do you think your daughter is sick, Mr. Gray? Eric asked. Xavier put his hand up to quiet Eric. This isn't what I do. Jean's abilities aren't an affliction. They're a gift. The psychic barrier would only be temporary. Her powers will return over time. It will give her a chance to cope with everything, Xavier explained. But we just started to get our little girl back. Now you want to take her away? Her mother said. I understand your feelings, Mrs. Gray, but I think it's what's best for her. Of course, the choice is hers. Jean sat in the corner of her room and listening on Xavier and her parents. Several days later, Jean stood outside her home with her bags packed. He's right. I'm getting better, but it's going to take more than he can do here. I have to do this for myself, she told her parents, hugging her mother. You can always come home, her father said, hugging her. I'll be okay, Dad. I love you. Jean let go, stepping away from him and walking over to Xavier, who was waiting in the car. Are you ready? Xavier asked. Yeah, Jean replied as she got into the car. They arrived at Xavier's mansion a few hours later, and Jean stepped out. Looking around, she was amazed by the sight before her. Welcome to my home, Jean, Xavier told her. Hope you'll make yourself comfortable. Xavier escorted her inside. Jean looked around. The fancy wood banisters of the stairs and paneling on the wall all seemed like just the sort of thing she expected to find in such a large house. It was also filled with antiques, like it was a personal museum. There were paintings lining the walls and an old suit of armor against one end of the wall in the hallway. This is your school? Jean asked, continuing to survey the mansion. Not yet, but it will be. It'll be a while before I can officially open. Until then, and you will be staying in here as my guest and patient, Xavier told her. Moira and Eric walked into the hall to greet Jean and Xavier. Jean, these are my colleagues, Mr. Lanchier, who you've met, and Dr. McTaggart, Xavier said. Jean smiled. She started to try to read their minds, and Xavier looked at her. Jean, I told you it's impolite to read minds without permission. Sorry, Jean said. Mr. Lanchier is also a mutant, Xavier explained. What can you do? Jean asked. Eric smiled, while then the suit of armor in the corner seemed to come to life. The pieces of the armor flew apart and circled around Jean like they were caught in a whirlwind. After a few moments, the pieces of the armor reassembled themselves back into the place where they stood. Mr. Lancher controls magnetic forces, allowing him to manipulate metal, Xavier explained. And you? Jean asked Miss Moira. I'm just a baseline human, but I am rather smart, Moira told her. I'll show you to your room. Moira led Jean away to her room as Eric approached Xavier. Charles, I understand the idea of gathering a group of mutants to train, but why children? Wouldn't adults make a more powerful army? Eric, I'm not doing this to build an army. This is to teach mutants how to better control all their powers and foster better relationships with the world, Charles explained. Foster better relations? Charles, this world hates us, and no matter how much they learn to tolerate us, they will still always fear us because we are the powerful, Eric said. It's not about power, Eric. I believe if what we can achieve is to teach them that we are the same as them. And by showing mutants how they can use their powers for good, that they will begin to see us not as enemies, but as allies. After Jean placed her bags in her room, Moira shoved her showed her around on the rest of the mansion. Xavier caught back up to her that afternoon. What do you think? Xavier asked. This place is amazing, Jean said. You haven't seen the best part, Xavier said with a smile. He led Jean to a wall and opened the hidden panel with a keypad and a large round button and with an X on it. Xavier punched in the code and pressed the large button. The display read Sub-Basement 2. And the wall opened to reveal a hidden elevator. They got in and the elevator started to move. When the elevator stopped, the door opened. Beyond the elevator was a futuristic-looking hallway made of smooth metal. This way, Xavier said, leading Jean down the hall and through a door leading to another long corridor. They entered a large room with machine parts scattered everywhere. A man was crouched down and working on one of the parts. Jean, I'd like you to meet Forge, Xavier said. He's something of an inventor and has agreed to build a number of things I think will be useful in the future. Forge stood up and put out a grease-covered hand toward Jean. Pleased to meet you, he said. Jean looked at how filthy his hand was and just smiled and waved, trying not to be rude. They call me Forge because I can build anything I can imagine, provided I have the resources, he smiled. Are you a mutant? Jean asked. Yes, Jean. Forge's abilities are mutant-based, Xavier explained. Xavier saved me when I was injured in the war, Forge said, lifting one of his pant legs and tapping on a metal leg. Jean followed Xavier back through the corridor into the main hallway. They entered another room along the hall. Well, this room was large and empty. It's not quite ready yet, but this will be a training room to learn how to use your powers and defend yourself. Defend myself? Jean asked. This world is becoming a dangerous place for those like us. You will need to learn how to protect yourself and others without harming other people, Xavier explained. Xavier took her to another room. This room appeared to be a large sphere with a walkway extending into a round platform at the center. What appeared to be a console and headset set on the platform. This is a very special machine Forge built for me. I used it to amplify my telepathic abilities. It will allow me to find others just like us. It's called Cerebro. Several days later, Jean was in Xavier's office. Okay, Jean. I'm going to place a series of blocks on your mind. This will give you a chance to rebuild your psyche, and when you're ready, we can remove them. This will also reduce your power, so you can learn how to control them at a more manageable pace, Xavier explained. I'm ready, Jean said, closing her eyes. Jean felt herself pulled away and was again standing over the body of her friend Annie. I wish I never threw that frisbee. Maybe if... The thing is, I don't belong here, Annie. I'll never forget you, but I need to say goodbye, Jean said. The appearance of Annie changed, looking more like a pale, decayed corpse of Jean. The corpse flew up onto its feet. No! It screamed, lunging at Jean. You can never leave me! It yelled, grabbing and clawing at her. You're not Annie. You're just the part of me that won't let go, Jean said. It's time to let go. She pushed the corpse away from her. The corpse shrieked and disappeared. The entire sky grew dark, and the sun transformed into a large, fiery bird. Jean's home in street seemed to dissolve into an empty space as Jean flew into the air. A dome began to form around her, and she passed through the opening at the top, up just as it was closing. Jean opened her eyes and was back in Xavier's office. I'm done, Xavier said. Your telepathic powers will be greatly reduced, and it will take effort to use your telepathic abilities, or your telekinetic powers. Those will be greatly reduced. You will, however, still train them. I understand, Jean said. Over a year had passed since the mental blocks were placed on Jean's mind, and Xavier was ready to look for students for his school. Jean was now 15 years old, walked to Xavier's office. Professor, I'm ready for my next lesson, Jean said, entering. Excellent. I have a special lesson for you today. Please follow me, Xavier said, leading Jean to the hidden elevator. He escorted her down on the futuristic hallway to the room with the Cerebro. Today we'll be testing your telepathic abilities with Cerebro, Xavier said. Are you sure I'm ready? Jean asked nervously. Yes, you've come a long way since the first time you were in here, Jean. I'm quite pleased with the progress you've made. Jean sat down in the chair in front of the console. She glanced back at Xavier. It's okay, Jean. I had Forge recalibrate its Cerebro for you, and I'll help guide you telepathically. Xavier pressed several buttons on the console while activating the machine. Jean picked up the headset that connected to the console and put it on. Taking a deep breath and slowly exhaling, she focused her mind in the room filled with tiny lights. Good, Jean, Xavier told her telepathically. The lights began to take form, taking the shapes of people. Some of the people took on color, or instead of just being monochromatic holograms. That's it, Jean. The ones that stand out are mutants. Try to focus on them, Xavier said in her mind. Jean tried to focus on the mutant signatures, but felt a sharp pain in her head. Stay focused, Jean. She tried to fight through the pain, as more mutant signatures flooded the room. As Jean concentrated harder, a single signature began to stand out among the crowd. That of a young boy around Jean's age. As she focused further on him, and where he was took shape. He sat in a class, blinking his eyes and holding his head in pain. Jean watched as he excused himself from the class and went to the bathroom. Going into the bathroom, he looked into the mirror as his eyes flashed red. Jean could see his pain and discomfort were getting worse, and he locked himself in a bathroom stall. He pressed his head into his eye as his pain worsened. Jean began to hear him groan in pain, and taking his hands away, he yelled, and red beams shot from his eyes, ripping the door off the hinges. The beams continued to tear a hole through the bathroom wall before they stopped. He sat in shock, looking at the damage he just caused. Jean tried to reach out to him with her hand. She felt like she could almost touch him, but then her head started to feel heavy. She started to stay with him as he panicked and ran in from the bathroom, but she could no longer focus on the young boy. The image faded, and Jean pulled the headset off her head and collapsed on the console. "Are you okay, Jean?" Xavier asked, placing his hand on her shoulder. The pain in Jean's head had quickly subsided as she looked up at Xavier. "Yeah, I think so." Cerebro was able to record the coordinates of the boy you found. "Let's go pay him a visit," Xavier said with a smile. Well, I hope you like that story. Let's see. Oh, Jenny, you came in, and hello. You're going to have to catch this just from the beginning if you hadn't seen it. Hey, 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 thumbs up. Very much so. Okay. Well, this is nearing the end of the show here. Let's see here. Yeah. Okay. Let's try this one. I've not done this one before, and I'm still practicing it, so I don't know how well this will turn out. Ah, dear one, how often I think of the past. Can it be you forget? Perchance was a passion too wondrous to last, but I dream of it yet. I see you again, as you gazed in my eyes, with joy of delight. So fondly you told me, as softly you told me, of love through the star-sprinkled night. Sweet summer's breeze, whispering trees, stars shining softly above, roses in bloom, wafting perfume, sleepy birds dreaming of love. Safe in your arms, far from alarms, delight shall come but in vain. Tenderly pressed, close to your breast, kiss me again. All right. Well, thank you for coming, everyone. That is the show. So I hope you enjoyed it, and
Please stand by.
Loading.